different sermon than what I planned. You get off on a cruise, you say, now I've got to get back, and I got a few days either do the sermon I just preached last time over at the Veterans Day program over at Grace Manor, or over at the Grand Villa, or I'll do a Thanksgiving, and it's so close to Thanksgiving, I decided, let's do something on Thanksgiving, and this is a tribute to things we need to be thankful for, and we're calling it Thanksgiving 2016. And the Bible tells us in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5:18, it tells us, in everything give thanks, for this is the will of God in Christ Jesus for you. Paul's attitude of Thanksgiving. Of course, Black Friday was just a couple of days ago, because only in America people trample each other for sales exactly one day after being thankful for what they already have. Black Friday. And what a day it was. How many didn't go shopping on Black Friday? Did not go shopping on Black Friday. Have you found out how many did decide to go shopping on Black Friday? Did you get any real good bargains?
I'm sorry?
Did you get any good bargains?
No, I didn't get it.
Didn't get anything. All right, you just went down and watched the herd.
Traffic jam.
Okay, one of the things we want to be thankful for, we can think of, and I'm talking about 5 different things we want to be thankful for. One's thankful for friends. And this little guy was sitting on my wife's knee as she's reading a child's storybook to him about how many years ago? About 18, 20 years ago?
20 years.
20 years ago.
Wow.
And then he met this significant little gal, and they got married, and this was their anniversary. This is Roger Scott, and his wife's name is Mrs. Scott, young Mrs. Scott, and Janine, and she's a sweet, sweet part of the worship team. Here's some new friends that we've introduced to the congregation that have become. Blair and Mary Yeager moved in from South Carolina or Virginia, and now live down in South Lakeland. Of course, this is a friend of ours. She does a lot of work with sickle cell anemia in Jamaica. This is Sharon Warner. And Sharon called us up and says, do you have an extra space at your booth that we can join you? Because normally it's $100 or something like that for someone to be. I says, well, Dan and Jonah didn't make it, so why don't you be part of our Jamaica team? And so she works with and had worked with Jamaican evangelism. And her husband was one who did a lot. He was preaching in Portland, Oregon after Archie Word retired. But Ed always did these lectures on Noah's Ark. And he'd always do what we call Bible evidences. They call sometimes Bible apologetics, or they give a fancy name for it, of saying, well, God proved through the ark his judgment and his second coming of Christ. And as God slammed the door of the ark, so he's going to slam the door, and Judgment Day is going to be God's judgment day. And so Sharon's husband passed away about a year ago. And so part of our time of having her with us is to minister to her, encourage her, and reflect on the good old times. And so we decided to do a little trip to see a little boat called a ship, called the Noah's Ark. And they built this Noah's Ark not with the 18-inch cube, but they used the 19-point-something. They have an 18-inch and a 21-inch and something in between. I know this was the 19.8. The thing was 527 feet long, not 450. I mean, they used the big cubit when they built this boat, and it is 50 feet tall, 5 stories high. I mean, it's incredible. And not only that, you can go into it. And these are the doors, and here's Sharon, and she says, I sure wish Ed could have been with us today. And because these are her memories of her husband, as much as he enjoyed teaching on the ark. Because this is Ed's ark. This wasn't the ark we saw. Ed had this ark, and he sold it she sold it to Mike Kennedy, one of our other teachers that Dan knows. And Mike is one of our professors. He's a pastor in Washington State. Yes.
Is that the ark up in Cincinnati?
No, that's up at 45 minutes north of, in Kentucky. Where were we in Kentucky? Lexington, Kentucky. It's 45 minutes straight north, but it's in Kentucky. But it's just below Cincinnati, a few miles, so it's halfway between Cincinnati and the Creation Museum. Creation Museum is another 45 minutes the other direction. Yes,
my grandson works.
He works there.
Yeah.
At the Ark or Creation Museum?
At the museum.
At the Creation Museum?
Creation Museum.
Okay, that we did. You can spend 3 days, 2 days at the Creation Museum, 1 day at the Ark, and we only had 2 hours, 2.5 hours, and so we kind of took in what we could take in, get back to the convention because we had a Jamaica booth we had set up. But this is the Ark, and I'm going to take you inside. as we go closer and closer. And this is inside. This was a model with the cages and all, and we're in one of the floors of the many floors. This is Noah and his family with a worship service. This is some of the bunks in the berth for Shem. And this was another of the berths for the other family members. There are, of course, 4 families. We're in few, that is, 8 souls were saved by water. And here's the situation with the beams. This is one of the largest wooden crafts in existence on planet Earth. And this replica, they used wood to rebuild or to build this monster boat. And they used its own share of drill and pins and put this thing all together. And this was some of the smaller dinosaurs in the dinosaur cages, along with other. And then here Noah's releasing the dove. And up through the skylight, this big long skylight overhead that lightens up this portion of the boat. And of course we were among friends here with Jim Book and others. And here we're talking about we are thankful for friends. Glenn and Sylvia down in Jamaica. This is our friends at the Archaeology Club. Will and Morgan down at the Archaeology Club. Well, we did a lecture on the spy planes, U-2 spy planes during the Cold War. I gave that lecture there at the Archaeology Club, and somebody says, I want you to do it over at Rotary Club in Winter Haven. And so Sandy and I got a free dinner on the Rotary Club and got to go over there and do another presentation. That happens. Of course, my friend Tim in the public baptism over the last 5 and 6 Easters. My friend Mike Chambers there at the college. You know, I asked Mike, I know you're busy and all with the college, but he's now one of my teachers in Jamaica, coming in not this next year, but 2018. And so he's going to be teaching apologetics, Bible evidences. Mike Chambers, the new, I guess they call him chancellor, because you only have one president when you got 2 campuses, and he's the chancellor here at the Florida campus of Johnson University. And of course, this is my best friend, my sweetheart, and you couldn't ask for anything better. But then it's not a bad day when you go golfing among friends, is it, Dan?
Nope.
Especially when you have this little guy from Tampa. And you know, you got to brag. You know, preachers talk about nickels and noses. You know, how many people you have going to your church? And how many? He says, well, we got 3 services. We got, what did he say? We had 500 the first service, and 500 the second service, and almost 500 the third service. So he preaches at Alert Church in Tampa, 1,500. So we hang around there. You know, osmosis, maybe it rubs off on, you know. He's a great golfer, so is Dan. And so me and Glenn, fortunately, if you hang around with the right people, you can end up on the winning team. And on this great golf scramble, I don't care how lousy of a golfer me and Glenn may be. You know,
listen to him.
you know,
Talk about yourself.
well, you should talk about all of us. That day, me and Glenn were the cabooses. And then we had Dan and Chris. They did good. But of course, you know, you got true form, and occasionally me and Glenn kept it on the green, kept it down there, not in the woods chasing after the alligators. Not only are you thankful for friends, but you're thankful for missionaries. And among our missionaries is David, Barbara, and Vicky. Vicky was she worked for the defense judicial system there in Colorado and did judicial investigations, kind of like a Pam Bondi investigator. And then, of course, Dave is a contractor, and he and Vicky, they're contracting our work in Jamaica and some of our construction and building the college when we finally get to it. This was a young lady, Katie Larimer. She's been to Jamaica how many times?
What, for 10 years? 6?
Yeah, she's been there about 6 or 7 times in 10 years. But this is what Katie says: crazy to run into Richard and Sandy. The trajectory of my life changed forever in Jamaica 7 years ago. God is good. Can't believe I'm at International Conference of Mission with Richard at Lexington, Kentucky. Now, you don't know what impact you have on these 17 and 18-year-old kids that decide to go to the mission field and go to Bible college and go into nursing, where she wants to go into medical mission work. Oh, it's incredible, Johnny, isn't it? Didn't that just give you goose pimples? 14 first trip. Johnny worked with her, Liz worked with her, Dan worked with her. This was the conference. I don't know how many thousands of people we had, but this was Sharon. we had to leave early Saturday because we had our family get together. So Saturday at 10 o'clock, we were out of there. We were on our way through Kentucky back to Florida to catch our boat Sunday afternoon over there at Cape Canaveral. So he said, Sharon, you're in charge. And so we left, we took most of the big display down. We left her with that. She hung her sickle cell anemia blankets and all, and we end up with barrels full of these blankets that people make on the West Coast and take them down to the sickle cell people in Jamaica. So that's another ministry that we're directly and indirectly involved in, working with Sharon for her transport. Of course, this is the wife at the convention. But the interesting thing is they ask us at convention, will you talk to the young people about mission? And normally we went to a prayer encounter in a certain area. Here the young people all came to the booth. So we set out some chairs and then we had a gathering. There's probably about 8 or 10, some adults and the kids. And Sandy says, you be in charge, and then I'll be in charge. She likes to take over sometimes in mission presentation. But she says, and I'll give you a couple minutes to talk about the Rastaman and no baptism here. And they got in an argument, and next thing you know, they had the baptisms at the Rastaman's river that he thought he owned. And a year later they came back, and lightning had hit Rastaman's house and burned it to the ground. Now, whether the Rastaman was in the cabin or in the shack or outside the shack, I don't know. But Rastaman 2 years prior says, no baptism here, Mon. We burn Jesus. You can't have baptism. This river belongs to me. And we put Jesus in the burn rubble. We put him in the burn barrel. So they say, we burn Jesus. Well, that's what Rastaman said 2 years later. The lightning hit the house, burnt the house to the ground. Whether he was in it, out of it, I don't know. But Rastaman said, we burn Jesus. Jesus burned Rastaman. Love it. Anyway, so this was part of the gang here. Sandy's doing a mission presentation, and that was part of the mission. This was the Vivek Law, or one of our missions of our particular this month. And Angela wasn't with us, but if you notice some of the children's pictures there, he takes the rejected throwaway kids, either with, sometimes it'll be a blind kid that can walk. No, there's a guy that can see, but he's crippled. And the blind guy can't see, but he's got feet. So they'll piggyback. And so the blind man would be the legs, and the seeing man would be the eyes. And so they team up together. And this was part of the outreach. And Vivek says he went to one church, and he was over here at one of our Jamaican support churches over here below Kissimmee. And he says he expected to get maybe 10 supporters, where people do $25 a month or $40 a month and be a part. And I think it was $150, $175 a month to support one of these kids. And he went down to this church, and he only got 2 people in a congregation of 350 people. It says, yeah, we'll help out on a monthly basis. He went to a church way out there, I don't know, it was in Kentucky somewhere, and it was a large church of about 700. He gave a presentation, he had 84 people, says, we want to be part of your ministry. Now, can you imagine, Liz, going and doing a presentation to church? And in one church, you only get 2 people, says, yeah, we'll help a little bit. And you go to another church that says 84 of us, says, yeah, we want to come on board and help. You talk about being thankful. This is one of those wow factors. And so we had Vivek, and we had Jeffet Perez and Richard Geringswald, and we were partners in arm. We were having a pity party because we mutually got dropped by a church. All our missions got dropped by the same church. And so we were sitting there and says, come on guys, let's have a group hug and say, I feel your pain, So we had one of those group hugs, man. But sometimes churches take you on, and sometimes churches renegotiate, says we're going to support somebody else this time. But that is all part of it. Of course, you know these guys. I used this last year. You guys weren't with us, so I left it this year. This was Liz and Dan Thanksgiving for you guys, and you're caring for people. And just like after services, Liz is off to see Don and Tom. That's Dr. Liz and Nurse Dan. Yes, ma'am.
You're talking about being thankful, whether you know this or not. Those 2 little girls in that picture, they have been abused by their father for years. But look at the smiles on their faces.
Oh my.
And Johnny knows the story because she knows who those kids are. they would come every year back just to say, thank you for being here. That one day that you guys come and love on us, it means everything to us. And in that picture, which is the last time that we saw them, she came back to say, that actually she didn't come back, the following year that she came back, she said, I'm pregnant, but I want you to know I'm okay. And because of the love you guys have shown me, I'm gonna be okay. So talk about being thankful. Boy, we don't even know the meaning of it.
Oh my. Here's the gang. We have some of our students in the counseling class. Ron's a goat herder. Now he's raising cattle for Burger King. I'm serious. You can make more money on goats than you can raising chickens. And now he's discovered you make more money raising beef than you can selling goat. More poundage. Yes, Dan?
Yeah, Ron's the guy in the sunglasses.
Yeah.
And I tell you, there is no more thoughtful guy anywhere than Ron. When he opens it, he'll sit and listen, but when he opens his mouth, it's something significant to say.
He's an incredible guy. This is one thing we're thankful for. You know, I'm disappointed that the college has been set on the sideline trying to get property settled. And right now we're looking at 2 acres. We have a lawyer working on it. One old squatter, no, he wasn't a squatter, he was a hermit. A good hermit, but a hermit, had 4 acres. He's in debt. He owes 431,000 Jamaican dollars in back taxes. And he says, I'll give you the land if you help pay up my taxes. Well, the tax is about $2,500 in US. That's doable. And we told him that he will walk away after we pay his taxes and survey his property and get it cleared. We found out the lawyer hadn't even probated the will for 11 years ago or whatever, 14 years ago. That he'll walk away with $1 million an acre. Now, $1 million an acre is about $8,000. So for $16,000 to get 2 acres of land 1 mile from current location, they're building a mega mart about a half mile down the road. And there's double-story, 2-story houses going up on the hill above, and there's another village on the side road, and it's about 2 telephone poles away from utilities. So we are close to whatever. And so we're negotiating purchasing that land. And the land, I put a fleece out. God, if you want us to have this land, which was 2/5 of an acre, and the cost on that was 4.5 million Jamaican dollars, which was about $32,000 to $35,000 for 2/5 of an acre. And later on, the guy sold it out from under us and said you can buy a 1/4 acre down here for 4.5 million, which is like $160,000 an acre. And we couldn't share parking lot, and there's 3 lots down from where we needed to be and to join in with the existing. I said, God, if you want us to have that lot, fine, but I'm ambivalent to it. If you don't want us to have that lot, then show us something else. And so now we're not looking at a fraction of a 1/4 of an acre. We're looking at 2 acres. And with the 2 acres, we're looking at $16,000. We're not looking at $32,000 or $35,000 he wanted for that little 1/4 acre. So it'd be what it be. But and so the money that was supposed to be in the construction was supposed to start in the college. We said, well, the Mitchelltown churches, we'll get on that project 3 years from now. Well, this is 3 years from now. The walls are 5 blocks up. And then Winston calls me up and says, I've got a 75,000 Jamaica dollar gift from the Jamaica churches, and half of it came from Brayton Church of Christ. He says, for benevolence, hurricane relief for Haiti. And that translates to be about $600. He says, how do we get $600 from Jamaican to U.S.? Well, we're buying cement blocks. We need 600 more cement blocks for this project. And so that buys 600 cement. We'll go ahead and send $600 to International Disaster Relief. And I talked to Rick Jett there at the Heights. I said, Rick, the Jamaica churches, you helped them out $17,000 so many years ago, and now they're paying it back. A few years ago it was $100. This year it's $600. The Jamaican churches are paying back the spiritual debt that they own the brothers and the sisters in the church. Now that's some stuff to be thankful for. You remember this group? Dan and Liz and the rest of the gang. This was a few years back. The Bible tells us in Psalm 107 verse 22, and let them sacrifice the sacrifices of what? Thanksgiving, and declare his works with rejoicing. Now this is with our kids at the Vacation Bible School. This was the last teaching session. We had Peter Denby teaching computer, and we had this little guy by the name of Kevin Short. He's 6 foot 4 inches tall, and his name is Short. And he preaches in none other place than it was called Alaska Christian Church in Indiana. And the reason it got his name is that Alaska became a state about the same time they were naming the village or whatever. And so the village and the church got called Alaska when Alaska became a state back in 1959, I believe it was. Was it 59 or 69? 59. 59. And the thing is with Kevin Short, he's applied for another church. He's got a small church of about 50 to 75 people. And he's applied for a church that runs about 350 that he's considering going to. But in the Christian Standard magazine, it says of the outstanding ministers, young ministers of age 30 in the Christian churches, he was nominated as one of the most outstanding ministers among the Christian churches over the whole United States. It's a privilege to have some of these top-notch guys teaching Jamaica College. I mean, he's a neat guy. This was the college class we had from an evening session in some of the gang. And this is Cassandra. She's working with the English department. Kevin's catching up on his email. And then in order for one of our students to be able to be in class in the morning to take in Kevin's classes, Cassandra got to teach the 4-year-olds so that he could be away from, they didn't have any other substitute teachers. He said, my wife can go ahead and cover your class if you want to be there. And he wasn't coming, he wasn't coming, and wasn't coming, and there he comes. And he said, well, I guess I can turn my class over to Sister Sandy. And she loved on those kids, Glenn. She just loved on them a whole lot. And this was Kevin in action, teaching his class. We had about 6 in the morning session. We had 8 to 10. Peter had some computer students, and we gave the students, we're thankful, we were able to give the students their own computers.
Wow.
And that's, you put the computer, stick it in the file drawer, you come back 6 months, you take it out and hope it works. Battery's dead, or the thing don't even work even when you put a new battery in. So I found out if you don't use them, they die. You do use them, they live. So I told the guys, you take them home with you, and it's not a loan situation. If you use them, keep them, but you can't sell them. If you trade them in on a better model, that's okay, but you can't turn around and sell them for Coca-Cola or a cell phone bill. You know, that's not fair. But if you use them, you get something better, whatever. And one of the ladies we gave a computer to was Fanny Knight. She's 94 years old, so she can do her email. Winston says, do you have a computer for Fanny? I said, best I can do is I'll give her it was a Vista laptop, but it was a Gateway laptop. But they can play movies on those things, they can email with them and do their sermons and lessons on them. We're thankful for the church, we're thankful for friends, we're thankful for missions, and we're thankful also for the church. Now, a lot of times we're thankful for the church as it is now, but then you have roots. My wife's mom and dad were converted at an Archie Word revival meeting in Anchorage, Alaska. And this has been 5 years old, 6 years old. 1951. And we go back, this old log church has been turned into a bed and breakfast kind of a thing. But to go back, Sandy says, we go back, I got to go back to the Anchorage church. And there was an earthquake, and everything was destroyed across the street from the church. It's one big level soccer field, big old playing field. Right across the street. Everything there was destroyed, never rebuilt because it's on some kind of a fault. This building stood, and it still stands today. But these are my wife's spiritual roots. There are probably 150 conversions during that 3-week revival meeting that turned into a 7-week revival meeting, and 5 men gave their lives to preaching ministry. That was more than a revival. And then after 2 years, they all got sent back stateside. And if there wasn't a Christian church, Church of Christ in that town, they started one. And that was the attitude then. It was an attitude of evangelism. There ain't a church. We're not going to settle for second best. We're going to go start one in our home or in a storefront or rent a building or do something. And so 150 people and 5 preachers from Alaska. So that church went from wow to, hey, they're all leaving. This is the Northside congregation. And we do read in Psalm 107 verse 8, let them give thanks to the Lord for his unfailing love and his wonderful deeds for mankind. This was an outreach we did there at Southeastern College a few months ago. And our old friend Will was there. Of course, we know this young family that have been a blessing to the Northside congregation. And of course, we know CJ and Mary. And of course, our new pianist, just about the time Liz and Dan says, we need to take a sabbatical. And how long? Well, we think it's going to be 3 months. They end up taking a 6-month sabbatical. She get her teeth fixed. And they says, well, what are you going to do for worship? CJ says, I want to get involved. I don't want to just sit back and do nothing. Yeah. And of course, we got Donna and the Mikowski clan. And then of course we got this couple that's been a blessing to the congregation too. And Rick's off working, but putting some groceries on the table. And this was part of a memory. Martha's been gone 1 year, and good memory. And her daughter had a baby with her significant other, and I found that out on Facebook. But that's the rest of the story. Recently, last few weeks. And then of course we got Glenn and his ministry that has grown over there at the, this was at the Mikowski Fellowship get-together. And you got to get the picture. You know, you got the old person on the right and the youngster on the left.
Opposite.
And then we got, you know, other friends like Dan Parker that just, you know, a great teacher. With praise and thanksgiving they sang to the Lord. He is good. His love is to Israel endures forever. And all the people give a great shout of praise to the Lord. In Ezra 3:11. And this was the prayer breakfast at the mayor's prayer breakfast about a year ago. And we have some of our new family, the Tompkins clan. And we had Deb's brother go with us to teach in Jamaica. I didn't know that was her brother, Doug, over at McClenny Christian Church. And this is how small of a world this is. And Doug comes up and says, thank you for ministering to Tim. Tim went through a terrible divorce, was crushed. He remarried Deb. And of course, when you're divorced in the church, they put you on the back bench, and all you do is keep your mouth shut, just put your money in the hat, and just remember to keep your mouth shut. And getting Tim back into ministry, finally his home church, Dave says, I'm going to be on vacation. Will you preach for me while I'm gone? Now, it takes a while for the churches to help accept people that have been through this crushing blow of divorce. And well, let us come into his presence with thanksgiving. Let us make a joyful noise to him with songs of praise. And then not neglecting the meeting to meet together, as is the habit of some, but encouraging one another. And all the more as you see the day drawing near. This is part of our ministry we're thankful for. At the and here on the far left is Jackie, who went to be with the Lord. And this is the Grace Fellowship. Of course, this is our praise and worship team there at the Grand Villa. And you know who's doing the preaching over there?
Dan.
Me, one time. And you know who's doing the rest of it? Time 2, 3, and 4? Dan. I tell you, he's coming into his own. But and Liz is our worship leader, and she's been doing a great job over there on Mondays. Not forsaking the assembly of ourselves, but exhorting one another. And then we're thankful for vets. And this was a vet that is surgeon. His name is Nathan. And this was one that Ray introduced us to. He was in the military. They're going to put him in as major. And he says, I quit. I'm going to serve in the mission field in Bangladesh. And he was out of Florida, one of the churches, Boca Raton community church there. And this is Dr. Nate Piovishin.
Cinco Baptist, C-I-N.
Cinco Baptist over there. Okay, which one is he?
He's one on the left.
Okay, so this is our surgeon. Right here. This is a surgeon, Nathan. Ray, you didn't know I'd be this thorough, did you? Ray says, can we consider, you know, we got a wild card in our missions, you know, where we can take some of our, a couple months we can set aside for special mission offerings. And I said, well, this is one that we can be thankful for a vet that's given up it all just to go serve God in the mission field. And this is some of the surgery going on in Bangladesh. And so this is Air Force. He left just in line to become a major, Now he's off to Bangladesh. And Bangladesh, according to us that are, I don't know about where it was, but it's over near Pakistan above India, and Bangladesh is its own country. It's not a city, it's its own little country in among the Muslim peoples. And of course, some of our military, like Morgan, and he is not Marine, but he's carrying the Marine flag, but he's Air Force, and he's 007. For those that don't know him, his name is Bond, James Bond. I'm serious. This man was top flight Air Force intelligence. Whenever Francis Gary Powers, he was over our spy planes. Anytime they shot down one of our spy planes, the Russians killed 17 people in that one particular spy plane. Of the 20,000 plus spy episodes, Francis Gary Powers is one of tens of thousands of, we always check them. And one thing that Eisenhower never told the Russians, we could take our B-52 bombers and fly right over the North Pole, right over Siberia, and they did not have radar over the North Pole. We knew we could have first strike if we need to, and only President Eisenhower knew that secret. And this is a secret I tell you now that I didn't know until. And then I've got a picture from the front pilot seat of a MiG, Russian MiG, shooting down our spy plane. Now to get special photographs from a Russian pilot shooting down one of our planes, you don't get pictures like that every day. You don't see pictures like that every day.
That's why he goes by Smith, I guess.
That's why he goes by name Smith. And I use these pictures in our lectures on our spy flights over. And this is one of our military men there at Grace Manor. Roger. All gave some gave all, some still are giving. Think of it. And last of all, we want to be thankful for Jesus Christ. And I want you to say this verse with me. For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whoever believes in him should not perish, but have everlasting life. But thanks be to God, he gives us the victory through our Lord Jesus Christ. Jesus, if my name is lifted up, I'll draw all men unto me. Let us come before him with thanksgiving. Brother Glenn.